Well, hey, y'all. My name is Willie Lawson, fightbackmedia.com, and I really wanted just to spend some time with you guys. I've been trying to do these videos that are just one hit, one thing, three or 4 minutes, get in, get out, uh, because all the stuff I'm reading and watching and on YouTube and how to get more listeners and get more time, all say that I'm talking too much. The intros that I love, yeah, gotta get rid of those, right? I didn't get rid of them for this video. I didn't because I wanted to talk to you, and I spent some time choosing the background. If you've been to a place like this before, you you know where this is. This is Mission Barbecue. This is the one of the ones in my area. It's it salutes obviously our military and first responders. The food is the freaking chain. It just is. The food is off the chain. Um, so if there's a Mission Barbecue where you live, please go there. It's not cheap, but it's really good. It's worth it. As a special treat, it's really, really worth it. It's worth every penny. Um, I just wanted to explain where this was if you had questions. I wanted to talk a little bit about where we are when we start talking about race. I know a lot of my conservative friends, Republican friends, don't want to talk about race. I don't even have to talk about race because it's always a thing to talk about. It's always a thing to talk about because other people are talking about it, because it's coming up more and more and more. And I sort of agree with my friend Sonny Johnson that the reason it does is because a lot of Republicans and conservatives simply won't address it. You keep ignoring it. You keep pretending. You keep putting your head in the sand like it's not there. And it may be because you don't feel like you have a good place. So again, I'm going to try to help you. I'm going to try to help you. I use this when I'm talking to kids in middle school. I say this to them. If they're not talking about you, then they're not talking to you. And what I mean by that, if the left is screaming racist, bigot, and you're not a racist or a bigot, then they're not talking about you. So don't be afraid. Don't get all and get your feelings hurt. Get all in your feelings and get all emotional. Stop it. Stop it. Stop it. Right? So if they are talking about you, can seek counseling. Go to your pastor. See if you can get that fixed. Get some prayer if they are talking about you. But never be afraid to be honest. Avoid what I call bumper sticker remarks about race. Um, just some phrase off the top of your head, because it's important to win here. It's important to win. Um, all black people want is all they want is stuff for free. All those people want is stuff for free. I know you said that, and I know what you meant by it, but I also heard what you said. Now, I didn't take any offense to it. Why? Because you weren't talking about me, so you weren't talking to me. Those kinds of statements and that mentality that's out there, especially on social media, doesn't do any good. As a matter of fact, frankly, it pisses me off because it makes it harder for me to have a conservative voice in my own community because I'm always having to answer to some BS, especially on social media. And we're going to switch very quickly to social media. Do me a favor. Understand this. It is easy in a retaliatory mindset to post videos of, world star videos where you have a bunch of black people in some neighborhood in Cabrini Green or somewhere, involved in some abhorrent behavior in these big fights or whatever. Yeah, you could do that, and then you could say that you're standing on the stack of Bibles as a Christian conservative, and look at those terrible people that you do that. But all you're doing is promoting a stereotype that I know isn't true and you know isn't true, out of some retaliatory mindset. Do me a favor. Stop it. Stop it. Now, there are enough people on the left that are doing that. So stop it. Just stop it. Stop posting those, or reposting those videos, or commenting on those videos. Just stop it. Don't do it. And if you do that, trust me, what you're going to find is that a lot of them will go away all on their own, because that isn't I mean, again, if you're not what we talked about before, if you're not a racist and a bigot, then you probably understand that is, when you see that kind of stuff, it's a minuscule minority of the entire whole, and that's not the general behavior of anyone at all. It's some abhorrent behavior, and you can find white people doing the very same things, but it isn't what all white people are, or Spanish people. Asian folks don't seem to do this kind of behavior, or at least they don't have videos. I guess, or maybe the percentage of that level of abhorrent behavior in the Asian community is so small that we can't even see it. Maybe. But promoting these videos and making retaliatory commenting on these videos is problematical. So I really wish you'd stop it. If you feel you have to post something uplifting from Walt Williams or Thomas Sowell or Frederick Douglass. Do that instead. Or K. Carl Smith or C.O. Bryant. What? You don't know who K. Carl Smith is? Yeah, look him up. K. Carl Smith. C.O. Bryant, you know who he is? C.O. Bryant. Yeah, I know you know who Candace Owens is. But you don't know who C.O. Bryant is? Yeah, why don't you find out? Sonny Johnson, why don't you find out? Crystal Wright, why don't you find out? I think it'd be a really good idea if you did that. And post things from, you know, that are uplifting, that are really supportive. You may find people approaching you differently. You might. I was having a conversation with a friend of mine tonight, and it made me sad because what we're learning is that our youth are being told that race relations in America and indeed around the world aren't any better than they were 50 years ago when I was 12 years old. But I've got a newsflash for you. Oh, yeah. Oh, hell yeah, they are. Oh, hell yeah, they are. But not even by a little bit, but by a lot. I grew up where I slept every night was pretty much an entirely black neighborhood. I was going to say predominantly black, but I'm thinking about who lived on the block. There were no white people who lived on our block, and there were some Spanish people, I think, or Italian people a couple of blocks away. But for the most part, there were no white folks who lived, on our block or on the surrounding block. So I live in a black neighborhood. I went to school, I went to high school at a white high school, predominantly white. I like to say that we were, the black kids there were a few flecks of pepper in a sea of salt. You had to seek us. There were so few of us, you had to seek us out. And this was in the mid and late 70s. Things were a lot better than they had been in the mid and late 60s. But this was the South, and there was still some resistance. There just was. Now, I think that I went to school with fairly normal kids, but um, as I'm aging, I'm finding out that the kids that I grew up with, both black and white, were pretty amazing people. Because what we did was, what we tried to do more than anything is just not be jerks to one another. We were in this situation and we had to get along as best we could. We participated in arts together. We participated in sports together. We participated in academic um, things together. We had to. We just had to get along. And we did. And for the most part, we did. We did. Were there flare ups between individuals? Well, of course they were, because you had high school kids tucked in this building for 7.5 hours a day. Eventually, somebody was going to get on somebody's nerves, and somebody was going to get punched in the face. That's just the reality of that age group, unfortunately. So no one can tell me it can't be done. No one can tell me it can't be done. And no one can look at me now with a straight face and tell me that it's worse now than it was 45 years ago when I was in high school, because it ain't. I often look at my journey as a young black person in the South through the late 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s. And I cannot compare my experience to my parents, even, let alone my grandparents. As a matter of fact, it is disrespectful to what my grandparents and their parents and my great grandparents went through in the South to say that now, 62 plus years later, that my life is worse than theirs, that I have less opportunity than they do. That's disrespectful, and it's just not true. I have opportunity, and my son, who is 32, has opportunity that my grandparents or my great grandparents could have never imagined at all. I will not disrespect their memory and their work in that way. So I can be part of some victim class. Screw that. Not going to happen. Not going to happen. And I'm not talking about pulling one up by their bootstraps. I'm not talking about that at all. I'm talking about looking at life as it is, the opportunities that I actually have if I partake of them. If I don't let somebody else define who I am and what I can do. And that's what people on the left want to do. They want to put black people, Spanish people, in a box and say, this is your box. And this is why you can't do what you think you should do, because you're being oppressed. You're being stuck in this box when it's them who put you in that box to start with. I've never been that person. And if anybody knows me personally, I've not been that person. I've always been sort of out of the box, right? Roaming around, bumping my head. And I'm going to continue to do that. Thank you for indulging me for a little bit this evening. The morning report is going to be up on YouTube. And I'm sorry, I got a dry spot in my throat. In the morning, so you can check that out. So until we see you again, go out there and learn from and love somebody. And for goodness sakes, I mean this from the bottom of my heart. Take care of yourself. We will see you when we see you. Bye now.